Welcome to the Moments That Matter podcast. This is Laura Escamilla. I am your host.
And this is Isaac Escamilla. I'm your co-host.
Thank you for joining us for week 2 of season 3. Today, we're going to discuss underemployment. So in the United States, higher education has always been known as the equalizer, right? That's going to get you a better job. It's going to improve your quality of life, social mobility. And I had come across a report called Talent Disrupted from this year, from 2024, by the Burning Glass Institute that really opened my eyes to a lot of disparities and a lot of issues happening with college graduates. And I wanted to discuss what that was and share the information that I found. I know these reports can be boring to the average person, but for me, they're really
I think they're interesting.
really interesting.
For sure.
And I wanted to discuss, for one, what underemployment refers to, because we often just look at the job market, employment, unemployment, but underemployment is really not something I ever thought of. And it refers to when college graduates are working in jobs that do not require a bachelor's degree and are not working and using all of their college level skills. As a result, they're underpaid.
Yes.
For what they could or should be making for the degree and skills that they have. So this is a really significant issue because a lot of students pursuing a higher education have the expectation that once they graduate, it's going to lead to a stable paying job. However, about half of graduates find themselves underemployed within a year after finishing college. That's 52% of graduates are underemployed. Of course, this does not mean they're unemployed. They're underemployed. They're not using their degree to its full skill level. Even a decade after, this report found that 45% of that group is still underemployed after 10 years. So they just don't find themselves working their way up the ladder or increasing their income to use their skills.
I see.
So that was a really astonishing number. And we hear it all the time. Students graduate from college, they can't find a job. We know a lot of situations recently that it's really hard, that businesses, employers are looking for starting jobs with 3 to 5 years experience. They're supposed to be entry-level positions. And a lot of college graduates can't find a job because the entry level is requiring 3 to 5 years experience. It's almost impossible to
We've
get.
seen that quite a bit. And
Right.
on the other side of that, the internships in college seem to be the key to overcoming that. But I know they're difficult to come by, and I know not everybody gets to get the great internship that they want to.
Right. So this report's talking about the different factors contributing to underemployment. And a large part of it is the major that the student is selecting. So that is what I wanted to provide some insight into as students are looking at the degrees that they want to explore and what they want to study in college and how that varies in this underemployment situation. So one of the most critical factors influencing underemployment is the choice of major. So some majors are significantly more likely to lead to college level employment, which is it's referred to when you get out of college and you are hired to do the job you have been trained and educated for. It's called college level employment. The interesting thing was that I always assumed STEM majors were the silver bullet. You have a STEM major.
Jobs
and you're
everywhere
gonna-
for a STEM degree.
Right. So that's all over. But this report shows that computer science graduates in the field have strong employment prospects with employers seeking their skills in software development, data analysis, and IT. So computer science was like one of the majors.
That's a good one.
And engineering. So this field was a little broad, but covering everything from civil to electrical engineering. Almost every form of engineering have consistently low underemployment rates due to high demand for the technical expertise. So that was really interesting to learn. Mathematics and statistics. So in fields where there's strong analytical skills, a lot of industries are looking at this. And we've discussed that within our own family, how you have switched over to database and the kind of data analysis type things that the companies are looking for.
Right. It's a lot more fun, but I am 19 years into my professional career at my current employer, and I've only now really begun to utilize my database and programming and the skills that are required for the job. I wouldn't say that I was underemployed before, but maybe for the first few years when I started,
But I'm
Oh,
sure as you went through your degree, you learned a variety of different skills, and you probably weren't using every single one of those skills that you
that's
used.
true. That's true.
Right,
So even at the entry level job that I started my current employer, I was able to use many of those skills, but maybe not as frequently or as developed or as advanced.
right. The other and I can't really speak to that because I didn't full transparency, I didn't get my degree until I was into adulthood, and I was essentially getting a degree for the job I was doing. Like, work backwards for me, as most things in my life work out. As a result, I never really thought about it until now our kids are going into the workforce and our friends' kids are going into the workforce, that this is really standing out to me. The other major thing, or not surprising thing really, is health professions, nursing. The healthcare industry continues to grow, and roles such as nursing have very low underemployment rates due to the demand of healthcare professionals. So that's not surprising at
Not
all.
at all. So healthcare in general, correct?
Right,
Doctors,
right.
nurses, anything
Well,
related to healthcare.
it gets tricky and we'll discuss that, but biology majors are underemployed, but because their job requires
An
further
advanced
degree,
degree.
an advanced degree,
Right.
further education. So this is really discussing what they would call terminal bachelor degrees, which means after they get a bachelor's degree, they can work in the field. They don't have to continue their education. So nursing would be that. They get their bachelor's in nursing and they can go work in the field.
As opposed to something like psychology.
Yeah, or a doctor. You have to
Sure.
go get an advanced degree. The other major thing was business. We've always talked about, or at least I have, if there's a student who wants to go to college and they don't know what they want to study, I've always recommended business major. It covers everything, right? It covers marketing and management and finance and accounting and all these aspects that I feel is useful. At least in my mind, they have always seemed to be a business degree can't go wrong.
I've always seen them as practical skills you
Yeah,
can apply to your personal life. So
right.
definitely.
This report shows that math intensive business fields like finance and accounting are the fields that require quantitative skills that are crucial for financial analysis and management are making them highly employable. On the other hand, the highest underemployment rates are general business degrees like marketing, human resources. These fields, they're popular, but they have higher underemployment rates as compared to the specialization of finance numbers. So when the business degree is combined with the math component, it is more
I know
valuable.
we've seen that with our friends
Mm.
when
Yeah,
we
so
graduated from college.
yeah, but I guess I didn't really think about it. Again, I always thought a business degree
Right.
was the way to
And you're right,
go.
it is broad. So my undergraduate degree is also a business degree, but my specialization was in computer information
Right,
systems. So it
which
was
has
database and
proven
programming and
right.
networking and all that fun stuff.
But again, we talked about biology is STEM and those degrees, if they don't go to medical school, or they're gonna suffer from underemployment. The other degrees or majors that have highest underemployment rates are public safety, security, law enforcement degrees, which I always assumed they would get right into some sort of law enforcement. And recreational wellness studies, the leisure type things, kinesiologies, again, probably because they have to continue to get a master's degree to specialize.
Yes.
The highest underemployed are visual and performing arts, mostly because these careers are highly competitive and sometimes don't require a degree. There's just talented individuals in the art form that don't have a degree, so it's really hard to get those positions. And the biggest underemployed is psychology, because if you're not going to continue with an advanced degree for counseling or clinical psychology, a bachelor's degree isn't going to help you get in a job,
It's
really.
the beginning
hmm
of a journey.
So, the other thing that this report showed that there's always been a discussion about, and and I get it, I understand it. It doesn't matter where you go to college as long as you have a degree. It doesn't matter where you study and those kind of things as long as you have a degree. And this report found that the type of institution a student attends also plays a huge factor in underemployment. So graduates from more selective institutions tend to have lower underemployment rates compared to those from less selective or for-profit institutions. So this is due to better resources, stronger alumni networks, and perceived quality of education. And we've discussed this before in some other episodes, but I wanted to clarify what selective and less selective institutions were. So a selective institution are schools where it's more competitive admissions process, where They get a smaller percentage of applicants and even smaller percentage of students accepted, require higher SAT, ACTs, better GPAs, and sometimes require additional essays or interviews and this type of thing. So they're highly selective universities.
Would you consider an Ivy League university the top type
Yeah, the
of
top prestigious universities, Ivy Leagues, private
category that you're talking about?
universities
Followed by
are,
private?
yeah, and they're all in the selective institution realm. Less selective is where the schools are more open admissions policy, accepting a large percentage of applicants. They have lower requirements for SAT and ACT scores and GPAs. So, interestingly enough, a graduate with a degree in health, education, or engineering from a less selective institution are more likely to secure a college level job than a graduate with a degree in biology or communications. So you have to balance out if you're going to go into these fields that we discussed, the healthcares and engineering, it isn't so important where you go.
Because the demand is so
The
high.
demand is there, but it does matter where you go to school if you're going into a different type of major. It does. You need the networking, you need the opportunities for internships and those types of things.
I can
So
see that.
so you have to balance out and think of like where you're going to go, what you're going to do. Both of those aspects matter. So this is really important about the study. And also, which involves us, is that graduates from underrepresented racial and ethnic groups, particularly Black and Hispanic graduates, are more likely to experience underemployment than white or Asian peers. So this report is from this year. The first report was put out in 2018, and they followed up in 2024 with these numbers. So 1 year after graduation, 60% of Black graduates are underemployed, 53% of Hispanic graduates are underemployed, and 47% of Asian graduates are underemployed. It's pretty interesting.
That
I don't know.
is, yeah, that's pretty interesting.
And economic status is also a big factor. Graduates from institutions with higher concentrations of low income students face higher underemployment rates. This is partially because these institutions have fewer resources to support students and finding them internships and jobs. Again, that's where you have to
Right,
find the institutions that are highly selective to
right.
help in those
And we
aspects.
know of several institutions in Texas that do a pretty great job of getting good internships for their students and putting them in great places and
Yeah, for sure. And
ability to
so
succeed.
this report really highlights the need for targeted support and resources for students from underrepresented groups and low income backgrounds to bridge that gap in outcomes. So it's a really interesting take on it. And some practical advice for parents and students as we're talking about this report is choosing the right major. When advising your kids, making the decision on the education, consider majors with strong employment prospects. Fields that require quantitative reasoning, finance, accounting, engineering, typically better protection against underemployment. And those that were passionate about less quantitative fields, it might be beneficial to complement the study of courses with some quantitative skills such as statistics or data analytics. This can help improve that underemployment rate and also maximizing the college experience. We talked about internships are crucial. The report shows that students who complete internships are significantly less likely to be underemployed. Graduates who completed at least one internship during their 4 years of college are 49% less likely to be underemployed compared to those who didn't participate in internship.
Okay.
It's a really big thing.
That is kind of an eye opener.
Yeah, so the benefits, of course, of internships are strong in fields like engineering, computer science, math intensive business. For computer science graduates who completed an internship, only 20% are underemployed.
Wow.
So that's a huge from 52% on average. And compared to, so this is those who did an internship are 20% underemployed, and compared to 38% of those who did not do an internship. So in engineering, the difference is pretty pronounced. And so start looking for those internships.
In the recent past, a lot of students, large groups, did not get to
Yeah.
participate in that tradition of finding and
Yeah, an internship
taking that internship.
opportunity. A lot of institutions offer these resources. So it's really important, like we talked about in our last episode about tutoring and such, just explore the resources and make sure they're available. You can ask these questions as you're exploring the schools. You don't have to wait till the student is there as you're doing college visits, or look up that information on what their opportunities are for the major and internships and how they help and career paths and stuff. I think that's super important
Right.
now.
Now, do universities publish any data on where their graduates go or how successful they are, what percentage of this
Yeah,
specific major?
they definitely do. Yeah.
Right. So
And
is that something that is publicly available that you can look up per
yeah,
your
you can go
university?
to most websites do. They want to tout where the number of graduates, if they graduate in 4 years, 6 years, how many got employed right after, and more so if you go into the specific major.
Right. And that's what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
Is it major specific?
Yeah.
Can you get
So they'll, if they have really strong programs in specific majors at that school, that major will have like our alumni work in this and this, and they were employed in this and this and got internships in these fields. So you can find that data. They want you to know
right?
where they excel.
Also, many universities are well known for specific programs, right?
Hmm.
So you were probably looking at the university because you already know that's the industry and that program serves you very well because of
Well,
what you
you
want to
would hope
become.
so, right? You would
Sure.
hope that a student is going to a school because they've looked at the program there and it will benefit them. And it's not because their friends go there or because the football team or because their family went there. That you want to be sure they have the program that you want to go into and that they have the resources to support it for sure. So, one of the other things we're talking about institutions is while prestige is important, it's equally important to consider resources available at the school, career services, and the opportunities available. And the selective universities, you don't necessarily have to go to them if you're going into a field like
That
nursing or
has a great
engineering.
demand.
Yeah. So you can
Definitely.
look at that situation too. So the long term implications of underemployment is that being underemployed long term is your earning potential and your career progression is not there. If you start lower, and I think you were mentioning before we came on air about what that looks like if somebody's taking a job that has a degree
Right.
of somebody with a lesser, they have a bachelor's degree and they're taking a job that only,
Requires an associate's degree, right?
right.
So a
So it's like,
bachelor's degree person jumps
it
into
like
that job.
trickles down,
Right.
right?
So now the person with only an associate's degree is taking a job from a high school student that doesn't have an associate's degree because they have slightly more education. And now the high school student, high school graduate with no degree is out of luck because it's all pushed downward and opportunities are lost.
Yeah. And while they are employed, this is talking about employed individuals. They're not earning their potential and can have long term implications. And if you stay too long in that situation,
Underemployed.
you're going to stay.
Well,
Yeah.
it will certainly affect your retirement and it'll certainly affect how long you have to work and how far you can move up within your industry.
Strategies to overcome underemployment for those who find themselves underemployed is to transition to obviously a job, start looking for a job that is in your field and at your skill level, and pursuing maybe additional certifications or going back to school for a graduate degree is one, or taking on more responsibility at work to add skill levels to your resume. Because once you get into a career, you can say, I'm willing to do this, I'm willing to learn this. And that is the way you can move up within the company because
You make yourself indispensable.
you make yourself.
Take on more responsibility.
Right. So that is one avenue to doing that. Just skills you can learn, responsibilities you can add to the resume matter when you're looking for the next job to get you to where you need to be.
Right.
And networking is key. Building connections within the industry are really important. And you might hear of a job that's not advertised publicly. These are things that can help, but I think I would focus on as we're talking to our parents and our students on the college journey that we're picking the right majors for
Definitely.
them and at least having the expectation of what your earning potential is after graduation.
Mhm. So I'm
And
looking at Indeed because that is a hiring website.
right.
That's a hiring company. So the most
Mhm.
in-demand majors and jobs, according to them, is number 8, mathematics and statistics. Number 7, medical assisting. I can see that definitely.
Mhm.
6, physical therapy, followed by number 5, accounting, then business administration, those are related, obviously. The business administration and accounting. Accounting is usually part of business administration. I guess it depends on the university and how they have it structured. But number 3, computer science. Number 2, culinary arts. And that is something that we rarely talk about here. Culinary arts can be very in demand.
Yeah, for sure. I know one of the schools that I work with, El Paso Community College, they have an excellent culinary program that I have toured a few times and they've catered. But the director of that program would say that his graduates get hired immediately, and whether it be like you go to by Disney to the resorts and the cruises and these
Right. They
things that
want
like
highly
they need.
qualified people.
Yeah, they get hired pretty immediately. Of course, you have to have the skill for it. I would never make it in a culinary course,
No,
but
that's not my forte either. But
you have
I
to have
have
a talent
dreams
and a passion for it,
of
right?
becoming the bear and opening a restaurant
Yeah,
and being excellent every day.
you wanna yell at everybody.
No, not just that.
Eh,
And nursing is the number 1, according to Indeed. It's
yeah,
in demand,
yeah,
definitely.
and there's a lot of excellent nursing programs that are
My sister's a
affordable
nurse.
and uh,
She's great. She's good at her job.
she's an excellent nurse. This is food for thought as our parents are continuing, students are looking at their majors. If they're already starting college, they're probably taking core classes, and it's probably not too late to switch to a major that would be more beneficial to them in the long run. Of course, you wanna make sure that they have a passion for it. Maybe they add a minor in statistics or something of that nature that'll make them a little more, I guess, worthy of wanted.
We were talking about the bear and culinary arts and nursing also. So the top few ones, computer science, culinary arts, and nursing, they can be very difficult. And I know this not only because of my sister, but a lot of my friends that are nurses, and how challenging the curriculum and how challenging completing that degree can be. So I guess my statement is that the ones that are in demand are going to be hard.
Mhm.
They're going to be difficult to get through because they're supposed to be. And they create the most in demand jobs because we need a lot of them. We need a lot of people to do a lot of hard things. So don't be discouraged. Continue on if you really want to be a nurse, or if you really want to be a chef, or if you really want to be a scientist.
Yeah, and I think that first job in your field that you get hired, the importance of taking on responsibility, working really hard at it, and getting that resume so that you can move up to something maybe a little easier because we all have to work our way up.
Of course.
I think this isn't saying that you should walk right in from graduating with a bachelor's degree and walk into the corner office of a bank. That's not the situation, but you should be paid for your education and your skill set.
Or on track to utilize
Yeah.
your degree in a meaningful way.
Yeah. So I hope it helps. I hope it just offers a little bit of, as I said, food for thought and thinking through these majors and careers, and the fact that over half college graduates aren't going to get in the first year out a job that is in their field necessarily or up to their skill level, but there's ways to fix that. And
Definitely, there is time to make a course correction if necessary.
so thank you for joining us.
Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
And we'll see you next week.
Next episode. Thanks.